In 2025, two peace processes, Washington and Doha, aim to end decades of conflict in eastern DRC. But misinformation from Congolese spokesperson Patrick Muyaya distorts the truth. Let's clarify. On June 27, 2025, Rwanda's Foreign Minister Olivier Nduhungirehe and DRC's Therese Kaikwamba Wagner signed the Washington Peace Agreement, brokered by the US. This accord commits both nations to respect territorial integrity, halt hostilities, and neutralize armed groups, especially the FDLR, a Hutu militia tied to the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi in Rwanda, which remains a threat to Rwanda's security.
The heart of this peace agreement is the decision to establish a standing joint security coordination mechanism between DRC and Rwanda. The first order of business is to begin implementing of the concept of operations for the neutralization of the FDLR, to be accompanied by a lifting of Rwanda's defensive measures. This is grounded in the commitment made here for an irreversible and verifiable end to state support for FDLR and associated militias.
The agreement doesn't mention Rwandan troop withdrawal, as Muyaya falsely claims. It calls for disengagement, ending all hostile actions, including the DRC support for the FDLR. Muyaya's assertion that it demands immediate M23 withdrawal is also wrong. M23 isn't part of this bilateral deal signed in Washington, and the verification mechanism will be put in place in this bilateral context. It doesn't concern the M23. The Doha process, mediated by Qatar, addresses the DRC's internal conflict between the government and the M23, tackling the root causes of this conflict. M23 long denied dialogue by President Tshisekedi secured talks in Doha to address issues like the return of Congolese refugees. On July 19, 2025, a declaration of principles was signed between the DRC government and the M23. Again, the restoration of state authority does not imply the withdrawal of the M23, as Bertrand Bisimwa, the political leader of the movement, explained.
The Declaration of Principles signed today in Doha provides, in particular, for the restoration of state authority across the entire national territory. This does not involve a withdrawal, but rather mechanisms to empower the state, enabling it to fulfill its prerogatives and obligations.
Restoring state authority implies that the DRC government's lack of control, even in areas without M23, has allowed groups like the FDLR and ADF to govern entire regions, fueling insecurity and spawning more armed groups. Doha seeks to address this governance crisis, not just M23's presence, contrary to Muyaya's claims. Washington and Doha offer hope for peace. But misinformation must stop. The DRC must end FDLR support and engage with M23 to resolve root causes. Stay informed to counter falsehoods.